From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. A man who was at the center of a jailbreak and manhunt will be spending a lot more time behind bars. Tonight, a follow-up on that jailbreak that happened last February at the Bighorn County Jail in Hardin after inmates assaulted a detention officer and dispatcher and then made their way out of the jail and got away. Well, one of the 3 inmates who escaped from the jail that night was sentenced today in district court. Andrew Parham will spend 10 years in the Montana State Prison for escape. Parham was on the run for about a month before being captured in a residence near Crow Agency. He pled guilty to the crime when he was arraigned last spring. 2 other inmates, Anthony Castro and Stephen Caplet, are awaiting trial. 3 other people were also charged in connection with the escape. And we have an update tonight on a single vehicle crash that sent 2 adults and 3 children to the hospital. Last night, a silver passenger car didn't stop at the end of Duck Creek Road and crashed across 4 lanes of traffic on Interstate 90. Well, tonight we've learned that none of the 5 crash victims was wearing seatbelts, and the adults in the car have serious but non-life-threatening injuries. All of the occupants were transported to a Billings hospital. Speed and alcohol were considered factors in that crash, according to Montana Highway Patrol Trooper Eric Gardner. Today, 4 more deaths related to COVID-19 and 90 new confirmed cases across Montana. 2 of the deaths in Bighorn County, 1 in Yellowstone and 1 in Muir County. The 2 victims in Bighorn County, a woman in her 60s and a woman in her 70s, increasing the county's death toll to 19. The latest case here in Yellowstone County is a man in his 80s. That's the 50th death so far in Yellowstone County, which has 4 times the active cases of any other county across the state. Well, families will be able to attend sporting events in Laurel. The school board approved that plan at a virtual special meeting tonight. The Laurel Public Schools activities plan passed by a 5-to-1 vote. It would allow 4 fans at games for each player, coach, cheerleader, and pep band member. Visiting teams will be allowed 4 fans for each coach and player. Some board members wanted to have fewer limitations, but also wanted to make sure that they don't risk the cancellation of the sport. Some asked about requirements for both masks and distancing.
Helping our community and helping our students and doing what's best for it and following our policies and following the law that we keep being told that we need to follow as a board and a school district. I want to see where the law says that we have to do these things.
My statement is, are we really following the true science behind this? I don't believe we are. We're running in fear constantly. We got to get over this fear constantly of somebody nasty is going to do something to us.
I would say that our plan, the one that we presented there, is one that I would say is trying to maximize capacity approach of trying to accommodate a lot of different groups, family groups, student body, band.
And while there was concern about future changes, the activities plan will be on the agenda and up for discussion at every regular board meeting. At St. Vincent Healthcare in Billings, staff is seeing increased patient counts, partially due to a surge in COVID-19 cases. St. Vincent leadership sent a call across the wider organization to ask for more staff to meet the demand. Q2's Mitch Legge brings us more from the medical workers' arrival today.
Fresh off a flight from Denver, 3 medical workers arrived at the Billings Logan International Airport Wednesday. 2 nurses and 1 patient care technician make 20 total workers who've made the trip from Colorado to lend a hand at St. Vincent Healthcare. The visiting staff come from a few different hospitals in Colorado that are all under the same parent company as St. Vincent's, named SCL Health. The new staff will be in Billings for 2 to 4 weeks, helping to take care of the increased number of patients coming through the hospital doors. St. Vincent leadership attribute the high volume of patients to a surge in COVID-19 cases, along with more patients that the hospital generally sees this time of year.
Something in your gut that says you have to come help. You know, we've been short-staffed and overwhelmed at Lutheran before, and it's an awful feeling. And to be able to come in and, you know, kind of help ease that burden for them just makes me super proud of the way the system is able to come together and show their strength and unity.
St. Vincent President Steve Lovelace said that this sharing of medical staff is a true show of how interconnected the healthcare system is. In Billings, Mitch Legge, MTN News.
Thanks, Mitch. Over this week, between 30 and 40 COVID-19 patients were hospitalized at St. Vincent's. The American Red Cross is taking care of 3 families who lost their homes in the Bobcat fire south of Roundup. The Red Cross helps with motel rooms and meals. It's moved its temporary evacuation center to the Latter-day Saints Church at 5th Street West. Muscle Shell DES coordinator Andrew Harper says that fire destroyed 10 homes and 13 outbuildings. He says different groups are taking care of those displaced, but hay is needed for livestock. Volunteers say many who are displaced will find family and friends to help.
Roundup, fortunately, it's kind of that double-edged sword, does have experience around disasters, and so they do have a good system and a network of helping each other out. And so it's just being able to make sure that we augment and complement the resources that are already there. It's absolutely helpful. Really, that collaborative work with all of the agencies that are trying to make sure that people's needs are met is just fantastic to see.
The Roundup Long-Term Recovery Group met tonight for those who need help. And turning to Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire now, and certainly it's been a rough time for us fire-wise here in Montana, but really bad in some other western states like Oregon and California.
Of course, you know, we had the rain and snow kind of wash away our smoke and help with the fires. They didn't get that in places like Washington and Oregon. Take a look at this. You can see the smoke plumes. They did have an offshore flow today in Oregon and Northern California, and that you'd think that'd be pretty good. This comes to us from the NASA MODIS satellite, but that's your West Coast smoke. But now, here's what's happening out there right now. As you'll notice, we do have that offshore flow, but as it gets offshore a little ways, we do see high pressure over to coastal California. That's giving us an onshore flow, and what that's doing is taking the smoke from Washington and Oregon, pushing it right on into California, and this is what it looks like in California tonight. Check out the orange sky in San Francisco. How bad is this? And this is all the way, of course, they have their own wildfires in California as well, and this is smoke from basically all of the West Coast, all going all down the Inland Valley and all the way down to Mexico. We'll have our forecast coming up in a few more minutes.
Well, the coronavirus pandemic is shaking up the presidential election with the publishing of audio tapes where President Trump admits to journalist Bob Woodward that the virus was more deadly than what he was saying in public. Skylar Henry has more from the White House.
President Trump is defending what he initially told the American public about the severity of the coronavirus.
We don't want to instill panic. We don't want to jump up and down and start shouting that we have a problem that is a tremendous problem, scare everybody.
But what the president was saying publicly back in February seems at odds with what he told journalist Bob Woodward in an interview for his new book, Rage, which is published by Simon & Schuster, a division of Viacom CBS.
You just breathe the air, and that's how it's passed. And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus.
The president admitted to Woodward he downplayed the severity of COVID-19.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't want to create a panic.
In an interview with 60 Minutes airing Sunday, Woodward tells Scott Pelley how he felt about the revelations.
In that February 7th interview, it's clear that the president knows what the stakes are, but he's not sharing that with the public at that time.
Yes, this is the tragedy. A president of the United States has a duty to warn. The public will understand that, but if they get the feeling that they're not getting the truth, then you're going down the path of deceit and cover-up.
The president praised his administration's response to the coronavirus, saying he saved millions of lives by putting travel restrictions on China.
China released something that they shouldn't have been allowed to they should not have released.
Campaigning in Michigan, Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden called it a disgrace and a dereliction of duty.
He had the information. He knew how dangerous it was. And while this deadly disease ripped through our nation, he failed to do his job on purpose. It was a life and death betrayal of the American people.
Woodward writes that President Trump never seemed willing to mobilize the federal government, preferring to let states handle the crisis. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
And you can see more of Scott Pelley's interview with Bob Woodward this Sunday on 60 Minutes right here on Q2. Vice President Mike Pence and top officials from President Donald Trump's campaign are headed to Bozeman next Monday. According to CNN, Pence will attend a private fundraiser hosted by Karen and Michael Borland, a couple that has expressed support for the QAnon conspiracy theory. The Borlands have shared QAnon memes and retweeted posts from QAnon accounts. QAnon followers believe in a deep state within the U.S. government that is controlled by a group of Satan-worshiping pedophiles, and President Trump is trying to take them down. The day is also expected to include a fundraising event for Senator Steve Daines. Kimberly Guilfoyle, a top Trump fundraising official, and Donald Trump Jr.'s girlfriend, GOP chairwoman Ronna McDaniel, Republican National Committee Finance Chairman Todd Ricketts are also expected to make that trip. And with the November election less than 2 months away and the big races still close to call here in Montana, time once again to talk politics. MTN's lead reporters and political insiders will do that tomorrow night, 6:30, in a special Facebook Live edition of MTN Politics, the 2020 Vote. The experts will weigh in and mix it up. Join the conversation tomorrow night at 6:30 on the KTVQ Facebook page. And Billings voters have less than a week to return their voted ballots to the county elections office in the public safety mill levy vote. Next Tuesday, September 15th, is the deadline for ballots to be turned in. Elections Administrator Brett Rutherford tells Q2 out of 60,000 ballots mailed out, already some 24,000 have been returned. If passed, the public safety levy would reflect the city's growing tax base, expanding with it to deal with the increased cost of public safety. City's current public safety levy has been in place since 2004, and it collects a fixed amount each year. Still ahead on the MTN 10 o'clock news here on Q2. Hoppy Days. Local breweries will soon be unveiling their new hop beers. Up next, we're going to hit Big Fork, where peak harvest is underway. And in sports, a new home. The National Finals Rodeo is trading in Sin City for a Texas diamond. Scott has the details coming up in just a bit.